is God's roadmap for Israel and the church? These short Q&As will help guide you on your way. Does valuing and obeying God's law look the same for Jews and Christians?
In the last episode, my goal was to counter the idea that God's law has been abolished, that the law is not something that Christians should value and love and obey. Today, we're going to look at some of the difficult questions that arise as we look at the breadth of Old Testament laws and whether or how they apply for Christians. There are two extremes within the church about this question. As we have seen, one extreme says that the law has been abolished for Christians. The other extreme is sometimes called the one law movement, which teaches that Christians are to keep every law just as the Jews do. There is a proof text for this in Exodus 12, which speaks of one law for the native and for the sojourner. This is a challenging issue, and I don't think the answer is completely black and white. I want to start by pointing out that even for Jews, the law does not apply the same way to everyone. For example, there are many laws that apply only to the high priest, what he's to wear, what he's to do. There are also many laws which apply to the other priests and the Levites. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are laws which apply only to sojourners in the land, non-Jews who want to participate in Jewish life to one degree or another. So in principle, we cannot say that the law applies the same to all. There are also specific laws for men and for women. So the idea that not all laws apply to Gentile Christians has strong precedent. This question of Gentiles and the law was important in the early days of the Jesus movement of the church, and it provoked what was likely the first official church council. We see its proceedings in detail in Acts chapter 15. The issue was, do Gentiles who have accepted Jesus need to be circumcised in order to be saved and to keep the entire law of Moses? Paul was on one side of the debate. A group called the Judaizers was on the other. The result of the council was an official letter from the apostles to all believers. The letter sided with Paul. It listed 4 expectations for Gentiles who accepted Jesus: to abstain from food offered to idols, from eating meat with blood and meat that has been strangled, and from sexual immorality. Circumcision was not included. And that is important because circumcision on the 8th day is the sign of becoming a Jew. So the Gentile converts were not to become Jews. Of the 4 expectations, 3 had to do with food and would facilitate table fellowship between Jews and Gentiles. The 4th was an indication that salvation would lead to obedience and a godly lifestyle, a turning from paganism and sexual immorality. That these 4 prohibitions were not the only relevant aspects of the Torah for Gentiles was indicated in a rather subtle way by this statement in Acts 15:21. From ancient generations, Moses has had in every city those who proclaim him, for he is read every Sabbath in the synagogues. The law of Moses would not be irrelevant to Gentile believers, though it would not all apply in the same way as to Jews or to priests or to Levites. We see in Colossians and in Romans that uniformity in how some of the law applies to Gentiles is not going to be found. It's not going to be black and white, especially regarding the kosher food laws and the observance of the feasts, including the Sabbath. Paul writes in Colossians 2:16, "Let no one pass judgment on you in questions of food and drink, or with regard to a festival, or a new moon, or a Sabbath." So yes, let us be careful not to pass judgment on one another as we seek to respond to God's precious commandments. And may it be said of us, "Oh, how they love God's law."